So you said your name's Caleb?
Caleb Upstreet.
All right.
That's me.
Nice to meet you. Thank you very much for doing this interview. I appreciate it, man.
No problem.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how open-minded would you say you are?
Say a good 7.
7? All right, cool. Do you think you should look at both sides of an argument before you make a decision on something?
I feel like that's probably the best case. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Do you trust your senses, like crossing the street, driving a car?
Yeah.
All right. Do you trust the government?
It's a tough one, man. I couldn't tell you, man. I do not. I really don't. With the stuff they're putting in our foods and in the skies and everything, I just don't. Not a thing.
All right. Do you think the majority's always right?
The majority? I don't think it really just necessarily depends on majority, but it's definitely on what's right. Definitely about what's right over the majority.
Yeah.
That's
All right.
what I would say.
Okay. How do you think everything came to be? Do you believe in like Big Bang, creationism, or you don't really have a belief in it?
I have a strong belief that God, the Creator, created the universe, in those 7 days.
All right, cool. To you, what would be your definition of science?
Science, I guess, a mixture of chemicals and I guess whatever, make another chemical.
Yeah.
That's what I got. I don't know. I never really did good at chemistry. But that's basically what.
Chemistry's a tough class.
Basically, what I think is science.
All right.
Yeah, chemistry was tough.
Do you think like the core of science to me is like science should be observable, measurable, testable, and repeatable? Would you agree with that? Observable, measurable, testable, and repeatable.
Yeah.
That's the core of science.
I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's a broad question. What's the difference between a belief and a knowing?
And a knowing.
Or actually, here, let me ask you this question first. Do you think science should ever be a closed book? I mean, you can't question something in science?
I think science is something you're always going to be questioning something in science. I feel like that's where the everything, how like water becomes water. Like somebody didn't just create water. Well, God did, of course, but I'm saying like somebody makes something, it's definitely going to be theirs.
All right.
Makes sense.
That makes sense. To you, what's the difference between a belief and a knowing?
Belief and a knowing. Belief is, I guess, knowing is knowing that it's true because you see it, but a belief is that you heard it from something, or like it's just like second case, like like you haven't seen it, or maybe like you heard it from somebody, or like you read it in a book, I guess.
Yeah, like you said, seeing like a knowing would be there's two people are talking right now. All right. This is where the subject goes off, and like I said, 95% of the population don't believe what I'm kind of like pushing out there. It gets ridiculed a lot, but it's been building up more and more, and I think the media tries to push it down. So what shape do you think the Earth is, man? Do you believe it's flat? Do you believe it's without form? Or do you believe it's an oblate spheroid, like mainstream tells us?
I feel like it's got to be round.
Round,
I feel like in the Bible, it describes it pretty well as round. I don't know the exact verse, but it's got to be in there.
It says it calls it the circle of the Earth. There's one verse in there it calls it a circle.
Yeah.
There's also over 200 Bible verses that says it's stationary though too. It cannot be moved. It cannot be moved.
I have been thinking about that lately, if the Earth is flat or not. But I feel like it's round until I go up into space and see myself. Because obviously the government did the moon landing and stuff. You never know if that stuff was just directed in Hollywood or something.
That's kind of right.
You never know if they actually went up there or not. But I guess I go off of whatever God tells me and shows me. So I believe that the Earth is round.
All right. Do you know anything about like fluid dynamics, like how liquids behave?
Liquids behave.
Like, would you agree with me? In our reality, a liquid will always take the shape of its container and then level out.
Yeah.
Right. So
that's what would happen if you put like water in a cup.
All right.
Any
cup, a pool, a bath, it always takes the shape of its container.
Yeah.
The Earth's covered in over 72% water. How could it be a sphere then?
Because it's so big, it's like we can't just look at it and not see, like, we can't see the curve, it's just really freaking big. I don't know how to describe it, That's why I'm saying, like, I don't really know if it would be round, but that's like my belief is that it's round because it's so big, and I can't just walk one way and just go all the way around and come back to it.
Yeah.
There's all these different objects in the way too, so you can't really see it.
people. Yeah, because I know a lot of people are going out and looking for that curve, and it's really, really hard to find.
Yeah, I know, because you got to be way out in the middle of the ocean. I never really.
Even in the middle of the ocean, like my cousin's been Navy and stuff. He says it's just basically it's a horizon all around,
Right.
basically all around you. But
Yeah, no, I have heard that like they're hiding something in Antarctica. Like,
have you heard of the Antarctic Treaty or whatever? Have you heard of that?
No, I might have, but I probably forgot what it is.
Antarctica. It's in 19 right when the space race started. They made Antarctica a sovereign nation. It's the only like sovereign nation in the world, basically, right before the space race, coincidentally.
Sheesh.
And like you were saying, like Bible and stuff. Have you ever seen where the astronauts won't touch the Bible, asking if they land on the moon?
No.
And none of them will touch it.
None of them touched it?
No, they refuse to touch it. They refuse to touch it. And they've been back 50 years and stuff. And like this year.
They haven't been there since.
No, they haven't been there back since or whatever.
So
So I mean, I like to use like natural science, and natural science says water, can't conform to the exterior of a shape.
Yeah.
And obviously, this kind of reverts the Bible too in a way. The scientific proof I like to use. You've used like pressurized deodorant canister before?
Yeah.
What happens when you puncture it? There it comes out.
Yeah.
So they tell us space is a vacuum, and so it's like as close to a negative pressure system as you can get, and then we live in a positive pressure system. So I go to science again, and it tells me water can't conform to the exterior shape, and I go to science again, and two opposing pressure systems cannot exist side by side without a solid separation. So they're telling us our atmosphere is adjacent to the vacuum of space without a solid barrier.
Right.
And the Bible says something about a firmament above.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Right in the very first page.
Why it gets me questioning, whether the Earth is flat or it's round. But until I see direct evidence of it being flat or round, I'm gonna believe it's round at first.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Well,
unless you got some coinciding evidence.
I can give you my channel, and I go over a few things. I can show you on the channel, and there's a thing that you can research, because if you research the subject, it's going to show you all the reason why it's not, because they filter it on YouTube. But then there's also things showing why, and there's actually mathematicians and physicists going against it, because like I said, the water thing, the opposing pressure things, and just things I never really thought about before.
Right.
You know the difference between like what eclipses are, like lunar eclipse, solar eclipse, and all that?
Yeah, well, I don't know the difference, but I just know it's something to do with the sun and the moon, and like the moon blocking the sun.
Yeah, solar eclipse is when the moon blocks out the sun, and then a lunar eclipse is basically when they say the Earth's in between the sun and the moon, and they say the shadow, the sun casts the Earth's shadow on the moon. It's always a round surface.
Okay.
But would you agree with me? Like the sun's round, like from our perspective at least?
Yeah, it looks pretty round.
Yeah. So in this theory, we're thinking it's actually the sun that's blocking out the moon, causing that curved shadow on the lunar eclipse, basically. And have you ever heard of the North Star before?
Yeah.
The Polaris?
Yeah.
All right. This theory basically states it's right in the middle of us, because you go up the North Pole, and it's the only stationary star up there, basically, and it vibrates. It vibrates a little bit, but every star does perfect geocentric circles around it. So this theory basically states everything's actually spinning around us, causing the Coriolis effect in each part of the world. The moon would push the tides, the sun would contract the tides. They say if you shoot a bullet west, like a long distance shot, it'll dip down because of the Coriolis effect when the sun's there. But I say that's based off a false axiom, and if you shoot a bullet west at nighttime when the moon's there, it'll bounce up, and I think the lunar eclipse is the sun blocking out the moon.
Man, that's some wild. I never tried to test it like that.
Well,
I never thought it would
I've dug in
the bullet speed, I never thought it would affect that. But I know it affects waters and stuff.
Well, I dug deep like 7 years ago and looked at the subject. So I started looking at all their proofs or whatever, and I'm like, but there's a counter argument to every one of these things. Like, well, if everything's spinning around us, that would easily cause a Coriolis effect.
Right.
And then, all right, they're telling me that bullet's dipping down, and you can watch someone take a long range shot, but that's the sun's there, the moon's not over there, and they claim the moon controls the tides, but if the moon's its own source, then then they can control its tides too.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you look at the sun and moon, they look identical in size from our perspective too.
Yeah. They almost do, but I don't know. I can't say for certain unless it's just some big covering over our head and they just poke some holes through it. Said that one's the sun, that one's the moon. This one's gonna be your light, and this one's gonna be your night glow, I guess.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
Can I give you an example, like a logical fallacy? Have you heard of logical fallacy?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, in this example, this would be a logical fallacy in my example here. If we went to a tennis court right now and I threw 15 tennis balls on the tennis court, would that turn would that turn the tennis court into a round ball?
I don't think so, no.
So just because you see circles in the sky, does that mean the Earth's a round ball?
No. I don't think so. But from what we've heard,
What we've
I
heard.
guess it is. From what we've heard.
Yeah, I mean, it's a belief on my behalf, man.
No, yeah, that's a deep topic, honestly. More people should be talking about this. I know it's been coming through my feed a little bit, but I think that's only because I'm a little interested in it. So I think God actually might have led me towards you. I was just kind of riding my motorcycle down in Detroit. I was like, let me go to the river walk real quick.
That's cool. Yeah, I talked to one of the guys I interviewed. He's a preacher here or whatever. And at the end of, and he's like, he's like, I think God leads me to certain things. And he was talking. I was like, well, you can check. He's like, no, that's what I'm saying. He's like, I think God leads you to knowledge sometimes, and I think he want me to talk to you. Maybe he wants me to, look in the subject or whatever.
He does. He really does that.
So,
my grandpa, he's a preacher too, but he's like big on all this, the government and everything. The chemtrails, the stuff in our phones too. Like, there might be like listening to us and stuff. Can't say too much. I'm recording me right now.
I'm with you, man. Government's shady, man.
Yeah, no, for real. What pastor was that you were talking to?
Forget his name. He's on my channel or whatever. I'll give you my channel right now or whatever.
All right, that's cool.
But I appreciate that, man. You've been perfect.
Sure, man.
Thank you, man. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.